Welcome to Sales Velocity TV, where we pull back the curtain on how the top businesses in the world sell more with less resistance. Bringing over 50 plus years of combined sales experience and over 100 million in revenue generated, please welcome the hosts of Sales Velocity TV and two incredibly entertaining gentlemen, Andrew Cass and Aaron Parkinson.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Sales Velocity TV. I'm Andrew, that's Aaron, and we are talking traffic and conversion today. More so, what's going on behind the scenes in the world of traffic and conversion. Aaron, I feel it changes so much day to day, and you got to be on top of it as if you were like a day trader trading your stock account or your cryptocurrency account, because these numbers and these stats and this data is moving fast. I know you see it a little bit more than I do, but we're going to break down exactly what it takes to continue to be able to make cold traffic convert to warm buyers, how to continue to optimize your offer. And then we'll talk, I think, towards the end, Aaron, about what we're seeing that's working well today and what isn't working so well today, which I think is a good closing.
Yeah, absolutely. This is for all the people that watch us live. This is your last opportunity to see the background of the beach condo. I'll be officially back in my normal house on Sunday as my 9-year-old is released from his 14-day quarantine with my wife. So
yes.
I'm excited to get back to the normal world, to my normal big glass cube office that most people
back in the studio next week with the vintage, with your vintage backdrop.
With my yes,
with
my,
looking
my
forward
vintage,
to it personally.
My jazz trumpet playing background next week. But yeah, we're talking about traffic. We're talking about how to maximize every dollar, how to make sure your offers are converting today. And I think really, Andrew, where we're going to start today is sort of a general state of the union, of what we're seeing going on. Had a great conversation with a potential client the other day that you and I were talking about. And, in this particular case, he was talking about Facebook and he was and Instagram, and he was saying, up to about, May, we were killing it. And then it just fell right off a cliff. Right. And I said, OK, great. Let me ask you a few questions. Number one, what was the first thing that you did with regards to the iOS changes that went into place?
I'd like you to talk a little bit about that, Aaron, too, because this new Apple iOS thing has created mass disruption, by the way, in the world of Facebook and Instagram, or Google too?
It has in Google as well, because it's impacting both, but we're actually seeing a much more immediate effect inside of Facebook and Instagram. And for those people that don't know what iOS is, that you might see it going around, but you don't really know what.
I think they know it because they see it on their iPhone, but that's about it, right?
Yeah, right. Is basically what's happened is Apple, with all of their phones and all of their devices, has, and particularly around the phones right now, they've basically said, we're going to cut down on people's ability to track you in the advertising space, right? So we all know, we've all had those conversations with our friends. You had it the other day. We had a conversation and you showed me Bill Phillips, right? We were talking about Bill Phillips, and 5 minutes later you saw a post from Bill Phillips.
Kind of
right?
the retargeting, tracking your thoughts.
Exactly, right? Your phone.
People are a little creeped out by that, right?
They are. I mean, how many times?
So is Apple doing something about this? Is that their right? Have they said, hey, we want to protect the consumer a little bit more?
Correct.
And that's probably really pissing off what's his name?
Zuckerberg
at Facebook, because he'd like all the tracking he could ever get. He's been called the Capitol Hill 4 times now on that.
It's the most disruptive change in the digital marketing industry since the Google slap of 2007. So what basically Apple has said is, when people download the new operating system, iOS 14, anytime that they're going into any free app that will track their usage, so that advertisers can then more effectively advertise to the user the thing that they want based on their usage, the user will get a pop-up that says, hey, do you want to allow this website to track your usage? And you press yes or no. And if you press no, Apple's blocking the tracking technology
or the advertising networks
of the advertising networks, right? And in theory, this is a good thing, right? Like, if you don't want to be tracked, you shouldn't be tracked. But the reality is when you download Facebook for free, right? Why you get it for free is because they sell ads. So they're basically saying, we'll give you this, nice little app for free. And just so you know, we're going to track you and we're going to serve you ads, because that's how we get paid and that's how we run our business, right? Now, most people in their minds are like, I don't care if Facebook makes money or not. So no, I'm not going to let you track me. And what we've seen over the last 4 months since this is rolled out is as more people update to the operating system, which didn't happen overnight, right? Because people have different phones, different ages. Some people, they upgrade right away. Some people, they don't, yep. Right? As we've seen this steady decline inside of Facebook and Instagram's dashboard, where you track the key events that you want to track: purchases, leads, strategy sessions, right? We've seen this steady decline. It wasn't really that bad when they first released it a few months ago, but now we're seeing as much as 70% of the events that we want to track. Let's say we're running a campaign to sell, little red wagons, right? And usually we'd be able to see exactly which campaigns had purchases on them, and that allows us to navigate properly. Now, all of a sudden, we're seeing 30% of the data. So we might have made 100 sales from our campaigns, but we can only see 30 of them in the dashboard.
So there's a black hole there.
Yeah, well, it makes it very, very difficult for a media buyer, a campaign manager, to actually know which campaigns are working and which ones aren't. Now, this is only going to get worse. And the funny thing is that Apple has already started to hint that they're going to start running ads in their own stuff. So really, this is a power play to eliminate one competitor.
I don't know if you know the answer to this, but does Apple and Facebook, do they like each other, or are they?
I don't really think so. I don't particularly think so.
Are they rivals? Are they allies? Are they?
We're talking about multi-billion-dollar companies battling over the same. They want the eyeballs, right? People don't understand when something's free, right? And for the most part, Apple stuff is pretty much free. Their apps, you got to buy a phone or whatever, but that phone probably costs more to make than it does for you to buy. Right? Facebook's free, Instagram's free, LinkedIn's free, whatever. If you're downloading something free, right, that's not the product.
Yep.
You're the product, right? You, the user, are the product, and you're being sold to the advertisers, right? They want to get in front of you and they want to sell you stuff, right? So this is a power play on the move of Apple to slowly eliminate one of their competitors and launch their own internal stuff. And good for them. That's business. That's life in the fast lane.
Yep.
And so on and so forth, right? So if you're doing any type of volume in your advertising, what we're now seeing is you've got to move away from the typical ways that we used to track in our advertising dashboards, which was with their pixels and things like that. And you've actually got to move to something called server-side tracking, where we're actually going all the way to the merchant account or the server, the server itself, and we're pushing the data back in. And there's a few different tech things that you have to put in place. And I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole on this show today of what that is and how you do it. You can do some Google searching on server-side traffic, API, those are the keywords that you want to be doing some searching on. But, Apple is on average with our campaigns, probably 60%
of the devices being used.
Of the devices, specifically the iPhone, right? Yeah, so it's been a big hit for a lot of people. Now, there's pros and there's cons to every sort of cataclysmic situation. Somebody said never let a good
never let a great crisis go to waste. Is that it?
That's exactly what I was going to say, right? Never let a good crisis go to waste, right? So if you go and you do some research, go down the rabbit hole, look at CAPI, at API, at server-side tracking, there's some things that you can put into play that what we found, with our group, Andrew, is that we've got our data back to about 90 to 95% accurate where it was before, but it took some work.
Yep.
And when you got to do work, what happens? What happens when a big change happens and work is required?
Well, like you said, where there's crisis, there's opportunity, and what that normally does is going to weed out a lot of competitors, which is a big thing, right? So
exactly.
If you're listening right now and you're not advertising in somewhat of an aggressive, consistent way, maybe not aggressive but consistent on Facebook and Instagram, YouTube, Google, right? The big 3 800-pound gorillas in the room. A lot of people have been squeezed out because they can't track their data, so they can't make good economic decisions. We're going to talk today about that path that you want to be really cognizant of to get someone to the conversion level. But I think this was a good start because there's definitely been some breakdown in tracking from the Facebook and Instagram ads level. And I think you said a little bit of Google too.
Yeah, we're seeing it in Google too, but just not to the same level as we saw in Facebook and Instagram. And I just wanted to give everybody sort of a high level of what's happening right now. So we've got that. We've got the iOS 14 release, which if you don't do something about it, it's only going to get worse. Right. And then we've got the fact that Facebook, because they're a public company, they release their finances, quarterly as part of their requirements. They basically
astronomical money, by the way.
Yeah, they do. And what they said is this year, we're bumping our ad cost by 50%. That's what's going to happen. That's part of our business plan moving forward. So this is nothing new. They bump their average ad costs every single year. What they usually do is they wait until we get to close to fourth quarter. And then when all the big competition comes in for Cyber Monday, Black Friday, all that stuff, they jack up the costs, right? A lot of the competition gets weeded out. They can't handle the bump. And then typically around January, it goes back down, but it never goes back down to where it was the January before.
It's like a stair.
There's always a new base.
Right? There's always a baseline, like most things in life, right?
Right. So if your traffic is going up, it's kind of like if your taxes are going up, right? You got to figure out, okay, well, how do I price accordingly? How do I squeeze every dollar out of what I'm doing, right? So you've got these two elements working together right now. And this happens on every ad network. We're just picking on Facebook today because
it's the most popular for sure. I mean,
right. So, what we really have to understand is the only way that you're ever going to be able to combat this is by being better at what you offer. Being better at what you offer, being better at communicating it, being better at following up, just be better. You just have to be better. And if you're better, then you can charge more. And because you're charging more, you're offsetting the rising costs of the things around you. Right? So what we kind of wanted to talk about today was breaking it into the three parts, right? Your ad, your funnel offer, the middle part, and then your follow-up, right? Pillars. Because if you don't have these three things operating at the highest level, it's like death by 1,000 cuts.
Yeah, and you know what the best way to look at this, Aaron, is if you want to be an effective advertiser, and by the way, you'll never scale a business if you're not an effective advertiser because you can only grow so much with your own network and your warm market and referrals. You sort of tap out at some point, right? So to get to the next level and to scale the business, you're going to need to almost have, I look at it like there's three little divisions within the same division. So we're talking traffic and conversion as a whole today. That's big picture. But within the traffic and conversion conversation, there's these three little pillars or these three little verticals. The ad itself, you got to be able to write a good ad and get people to go, that sounds interesting. Let me click it. So big right there. Second piece is the landing page, AKA the funnel. When they land on that thing they clicked on to see, can you also now get them over the hump to give you their name and email, give you a phone number, get them to call, sign up for a webinar, right? Is the offer now compelling enough to get them to want to learn more and become a prospect? And then once that's complete, do you have a good organizational system and a follow-up system in place to be able to see that person through to becoming a customer or a client? There's three parts, but there's only three, which is good. So a lot of times if this is like new territory for business owners and they go, I really need to crack this online advertising thing. I know a lot of people watching are not seasoned internet marketers. They're not seasoned advertisers, Aaron, because it's just not a skill set that is that easy to adopt. So guys like you and I are almost like, I don't want to say dinosaurs. Well, I guess I could say dinosaurs. I mean, we're like, we've been doing it a long time. Right?
We've been doing it a long time.
We're not extinct, right? We've been doing it a long time. But I should just say we're seasoned. Well, what's the term that we're
unicorns, bro.
Bill Glazer of Glazer Kennedy used to use this term. Grizzled veterans.
Right.
I love that term. I've always loved it. We are grizzled veterans when it comes to traffic and conversion because we've been doing traffic and conversion since before Google was even a search engine. So that's a lot of time.
It's true. But I think sometimes we get caught in our own little bubble where we think this is most of the stuff that we talk about now is common knowledge because it's been a growing.
We take it for granted. We do.
For 14 years, right?
Yeah.
And then almost every, I'm not even going to say almost, every single person that you and I speak to one-on-one has a problem in one, two, if not all three of the things that we just talked about.
You just nailed it. It's almost at a 99.9% batting average.
So then clearly we're not dinosaurs. Clearly it's not common knowledge.
Right.
Clearly it's still evolving and it's still not as commonly understood as we think it is because we've lived in it for the last 15 years.
But listen,
right?
Aaron, think about it this way. You and I just had a 30-minute conversation before the show on how we're still to this day. I mean, it kind of reminds me of like these guys that we always talk about on the show that are just, they've been doing their thing for so long and so well. The Tony Robbins of the world, the Tom Cruises of the world, the Tom Brady's of the world. They just keep going and going and going because they're constantly refining. We just had a conversation before the show about a huge refinement and adjustment and tweak we're doing to our advertising. And most people think at some point you get to a set it and forget it place, and you really never do. You can for a little short periods of time, but the amount of optimization that has to go in to keeping conversions high month in, month out, year in, year out is a lot of work. It's daunting work, but man, it is so worth it because you'll never scale without it.
Right. And some people go, how is it worth it? Right. And we won't go into the details of the conversation we were just having before this, but basically where we're at in one of our businesses right now that we own, we're at a multiple 7-figure level in that business. And we, in about 20 minutes, hash through some details that will allow us to take that business from, $2 million a year to $6 million
north of
a
$5
year.
Yeah.
Right. And it'll happen over the course of the next 45 days. Right. Imagine if you had that kind of clarity and power with your business, that you could just make some optimizations, when you were ready and take it to that level. That's the power of what we talk about on this show. If anything, on most days, and we've been talking about this for a year, Andrew, we could dramatically expand the size of the business any day we want to. Any business we have, we could go, our challenge is actually in slowing ourselves down to make sure that the infrastructure and the optimization and everything is in place so that we don't waste money or we don't ruin a reputation of a specific company or whatever. So where most people are out there saying, how do I get more leads, more sales? We're saying, how do we slow ourselves down to make sure that the systems are in place for it to run smoothly?
The preparation is in place to be able to handle the sales, take
Correct.
care of the customer, deliver the product.
At the highest level.
Key. A lot of times it's, I need leads, I need sales now. And if somebody blows up and gets a lot of leads and a lot of sales, they haven't quite nailed the operations and the fulfillment to a level that needs to be. So there's a lot of balancing act happening, as you said.
Yeah.
But I want to go back to what you just said a second ago, because you even took that statement for granted. And that was, at any given time, we can just turn the knob and double or triple our track. That's powerful. Can you imagine getting to a point in your business where you can literally make a decision? You know what? Today, I think we're going to double our advertising spend, maybe triple or quadruple our revenue in the next 45 days because we have such a handle on the traffic and conversion piece that we can kind of turn it on and turn it off like clockwork now. It has taken us a long time to get to that, to get to say that statement. And I wanted to just nail that home because this is the end result of really getting good at traffic and conversion, is eventually you can get to a point where you can completely control the amount of lead flow and deal flow that's coming into your business. I mean, it's an investor's dream. It's an owner's dream.
It's life-changing.
A funding dream. I mean, it's a cash cow, and it is incredibly attractive for sale. I mean, so many benefits, obviously.
For me, I talk about it with our team all the time. It's actually generationally impacting, right? Because when we see one of our clients go from $10,000 a month in sales to $1 million a month in sales, that's impacting them, their children, their children's children. Like we've recharted the direction of their life, right? And I only know one way to do that, and that's through what we talk about. That I feel like I'm smart enough to actually be able to successfully do. Like I can't. I'm not a finance guy. I don't think I could run a hedge fund. I don't think I could be a brain surgeon. I don't. To me, this is just time, and consistency. And you don't have to be a genius. You just have to, take the time to understand the pieces. Which is why if you're watching the show, good for you, because you're investing time into what I think is the most accessible, the most valuable skill set on the planet.
No doubt.
Can I go to a business, whether it be mine or somebody else's, and say, what would your business look like if I 10x'd it tomorrow? Most people go, not possible, but the reality is very possible. In fact, it's overnight possible. We just have to make sure that all the pieces are in play to do it profitably and sustainably long term, right? So let's go back to
the ads itself. So pillar number one is, and really, let me jump in for a second. I actually kind of feel like number one and number two are interchangeable for the reason that my ad will be dictated by my funnel and my landing page. So if I'm offering a free report on weight loss, let's say,
sure,
I got to really know what that offer is to write a good ad. I can't just go write an ad and then figure out what am I selling here, because the copy in the ad will dictate what I'm offering. So really, they go hand in hand.
There has to be consistency. We talk about this when we look at clients all the time, where there'll be incongruencies between the ad and the landing page offer,
which is a disconnect.
The disconnect there will create a conversion problem, right? So you're 100% accurate that you really have to take some time to know and do some research, whether it's internally with your customers or externally with other experts or analyzing competitors, to understand what are the pain points of the particular group that you're attempting to sell to. What are the negative experiences they've had in the past? What are the things that irritate them? What do they really want to accomplish? How's it going to impact their life if it is accomplished? So you really have to take that time and do that research. And once you do, then you can craft a solution to their pain points, which now, is reflected in, let's say, your landing page, right? And once you've got that, then you can carry that forward into your advertising. And the difference between, let's just say, the landing page and the advertising is that the advertising, you need to be a little bit more aggressive in grabbing the attention, and you can tone it down a little bit as long as it's still congruent in your landing page, right? But over in the ad side, and let's just say we were talking about an example of
use my free report example all the way through.
Right. Yeah, like the free report example is great. We have a client that's in the insurance space, and what she sells is basically a type of insurance where if you get injured on the job, you get paid cash right away. There's no like messing around with payouts over time or having to die or like whatever, right? And so in the ad side of it, right, she has to go out and actually twist the knife to get attention very quickly, because insurance is boring, right? And I think it's kind of where we got to stop and really make a point here. Most of the time, what you're selling is boring and saturated and nobody cares. What you have to do when you're creating ads and offers is you have to make it unboring, right?
Somehow make it entertaining, interesting. It's hard to do sometimes, right?
Yeah, you have to
smile a little bit, have fun with it, right? Don't make it obvious that you're so bored with your stuff, right? It's like
it's got to be
to people, right?
It's got to be very disruptive, right? Yeah. So what we did in her particular ad is we said, hey, attention people working in high risk jobs. What would your life look like if you got injured and your family didn't have any money to live off of, and you couldn't get a new job, and now all of a sudden your kids couldn't afford new clothes or to go to the school that they wanted to, and all of a sudden you had to move in with your parents when you were 42 years old, right? All of a sudden somebody who's in a high-risk job just read that headline, so it grabbed them because I'm in a high-risk job, and then it starts really painting this picture and twisting this knife, right? And they're like, oh my God, I can't be that person that leaves my family in that kind of situation, right? Let me show you the unknown sector of insurance that very few people have any idea exists, that can get you paid out within 24 hours if you have a job on your high-risk industry. Click the link below to learn more, and then they go over to the landing page, and it reiterates the same stuff from the ad, and enter your email here to watch a case study where somebody just like you went through the exact same thing and they got paid out, whereas if they had done this other thing, they wouldn't have got paid out and their family was taken care of. Well, now if I'm in a high-risk job, I all of a sudden feel like if I don't watch this, I'm an irresponsible parent. I'm a bad parent. If I'm a bad wife, I'm a bad husband. I'm irresponsible. Oh my God, I don't want to be that guy, right? And I'm going to listen and learn about what this person has to say, right? Now, the alternative to that would have been having an ad that just said, get high-risk job insurance today.
Right. So that ad falls short. it dies on the 2-yard line. And that's what happens mostly in advertising today. And by the way, we did a whole episode on this, which would be very instructive, called the 2x3 selling method, where we broke down this problem, agitate, solution formula, which is exactly what you just did. You're going to have to really elicit some emotion in these ads today. We're getting hit with how many ads in a day? From TV, from internet, from social media. I mean, you're gonna have to be a little bit dramatic today if you want to get attention and stop someone in their tracks on the ad. And then that needs to be carried through to part 2 here, which is when they land on your funnel, your website, your landing page, right? Then when they get there, they then need to be sold on the next step, which is usually name and email, give us a call, download the report, right? You then have to do it again. So there's 2 steps here, which is really important, is the ad has to elicit that response you just had. And then when you hit the page, you got to be good enough on, maybe it's a video of you, maybe it's just good copy, maybe there's great testimonials and case studies. Something has to be there to say, this report will show you how to get to here without here, right? This report will show you how to lose 10 pounds in 30 days without sacrificing your whole life to eating salad all day long, right? So something like that gets them moving, and then they go and get the report. And now you've achieved 2 critical steps. You got their attention with the ad. They click through. You now kept their attention and got them to request the thing on the page. And now you have a prospect. Now you have a list, right? Now someone's in your funnel. And now really good business is bringing me to part 3. I don't know if you want to mention anything on part 2, Aaron, but on part 3 is now you have follow-up and follow-through, which is almost like a lost art today. I think we did a whole episode on this. It's why we started Pipeline Pro, our company that produces this show, is because follow-up and follow-through is an organizational software process that very few have.
Yeah, and I talk about Simon Sinek, who you and I worked with many years ago. He has, I think, the most watched TED Talk of all time, Start With Why. And what he talks about in there is the law of diffusion of innovation, right? And basically what he talks about is that there's 2% of people who see something and they just get it on day one. Right. They're the ones that, waited 9 hours for the first iPhone, right? In line. Exactly. Right. Exactly. And the problem is that let's just say there's 100% of people who would buy your stuff if given a long enough timeline and enough information and enough, overcoming of objections and all those things, right? You can't rely on just the 2.5% of people who just get it, right? We talked about this earlier. Advertising costs are going up, right? We talked about, battles between platforms trying to, remove the amount of people, that are going to be, have eyeballs, right? Everyone's in the fight for the eyeballs. I mean, that's why the media is so crazy right now. We talk about this all the time, Andrew. They're just pumping fear and division and animosity because those kind of things get eyeballs and they need to sell them to their advertisers, right?
You got that right. And I don't know if you can see this, but I've brought up an old vintage visual for those watching by Sales Velocity TV of where people are in the buying cycle. So critical is very few are open to buying now, like you said. So how are you not building a list and building a follow-up path when close to 80%, even closer to 90% of your prospects are not ready to do anything right now?
Correct. And you brought up this graph. I think we've had this graph up in one of our shows before,
right? We
have
a while ago, exactly.
The 3% of people are the people who just get it, right? But there's all these other people that are going to get it over time if you invest enough into your follow-up, your messaging, your branding, all of these things that move people into the buying, cycle that won't if you don't, right? And again, when costs are going up all over the place, if you're just relying on the 3%, your days are numbered, right? You have to maximize everything. So, once you can get somebody into your ecosystem, once you can get them into your store, once you can get their email, once you can get their phone number, once they've bought one thing, doesn't matter how small, from you, right?
What do we call it? The micro commitment, right?
Sure, the micro commitment. What kind of experience are you giving them after they've given you that thing?
Do they get a call? Do they get an email? Do they get a text? Do they get sent something in the mail? Do they get to attend a webinar or a class or some sort of training, right? What's going on back there? Because it took a lot to get that lead.
Yeah.
What's now going on back there to keep that lead interested, engaged, and slightly entertained, right? We talked about this before. Entertained and interested is something you need to strive for today.
And I would take a third pillar of that. Entertained, interested, and knowing that you care. Knowing that you value so much the fact that they would engage with your business, that you're going to send them helpful tips by email once a week for whatever industry you're in, that you're going to open your network to them, that you're going to educate them more on the things that they want to learn about, that you're going to share, helpful testimonials from other people that they can learn, how do you give, that you're going to book one-on-ones with them to show them demos, that you're going to, follow up with them in 2 weeks and ask if they're okay, right?
That's critical.
All of these little elements where people are like, man, these guys, these girls, this company is just going over and above to give me the best experience possible. And that's a lot of stuff.
It's a customer experience play. We've done a whole episode on it, and you have to engineer that. And you have to be very deliberate about that because so few are. So few are buy or die. They spend all this time and energy on great ad, great funnel. They get the lead or they get the customer. And it's like, I always jokingly say they're in the witness protection program now. You can't find them.
Right.
It's a big deal.
Yeah. I mean, we had a conversation yesterday with one of our clients, and they started with us at about $100,000 a month in revenue, and then they got up to 1.5 million a month in revenue 12 months later. And their customer journey of their product itself was extremely disjointed. It was like, buy this program, there's no start and finish dates to it. And then they came up with another program and they just kind of sold it to the group and there was no start and finish dates. And then they came up with another one and they sold it. And so they're just hammering this list over and over and over again, which eventually it's going to saturate, right? And we had to sit down with them and say, no, like you have to think about your customer journey the same way that you think about it in your ads. You've got to think about it once they become customers. Hey, we're going to give you this. This is going to take you to this spot, right? And then if you get to that spot and you want to get to this spot, we're going to give you this. And it's going to the first one's going to take you 6 months. The second one's going to take you 6 months. The third one's going to take you 6 months. And then you're going to get to here. And then you just keep thinking, like, what do my clients want? What do they need? How can I best serve them? What can I put together? And how can I create a clear path for what they want? And a lot of people go, well, was this just information marketing? No, it's not, right? If you look at somebody like Dollar Shave Club, right? They solved a big problem. They said Gillette razors are $20 a pop. And they're kept in a closed locked case, which is absurd, in the grocery store. I don't know if that's how it is.
So people don't steal them.
Right. So people don't steal them. Right. And we're just going to deliver them to your house, for $5 a month. You'll never have to think about it again. And then once they solve that pain point, that thing that people were irritated by, right? Then they said, what else would our customers want, right?
We know they shave. We know they're probably men.
Right.
Not that difficult to figure out what else a man might need that is congruent and consistent with his shaving regimen.
And all of a sudden out came the organic, no paraffin shaving creams.
Cream, aftershave.
And then after that, some deodorant.
Right.
Right. And the guys are like, man, these guys have done such a great job in winning me over and communicating with me and following up. Like, absolutely. Why would I want to buy the Gillette shave cream? I'd rather buy their shave cream. Why would I, it's all about thinking about what's next and how you can create that customer experience that just buys their loyalty. That's what you're doing, is you're buying loyalty. I read the other day, Andrew, blew my mind. Mm-hmm. What do you think the lifetime value? I've never seen this released before till yesterday. What do you think the lifetime value is of a Starbucks customer?
Don't know.
Take a guess.
Oof. The lifetime value of a Starbucks customer.
One coffee at a time.
One coffee at a time. It's got to be in the thousands.
Yeah. Take just random guess.
10,000.
$14,950. They've figured it out. That's their lifetime value of a Starbucks customer. That blew my mind, right? Because we're talking about what, $2, $3 at a time, right? Because
Starbucks engineered what they call the third place.
Expand.
the third place, meaning you have a home, you have an office, and Starbucks was engineered to be the third place. They were the pioneer of a coffee shop you can hang out in and be a regular in and do your work in and sit in the couches and all. Like, we take all that for granted now. Starbucks pioneered it. They called it, we are a third place business. That was their unique selling point.
Heard that.
You never knew
That's
that?
brilliant.
So if you read the story about Starbucks early on, that was the model. It wasn't just, we're just going to serve coffee. No, we want to become the third place. You got a home and an office and you have Starbucks.
Genius.
And listen, because that's an experiential play. It isn't a coffee play. The coffee's all right. The third place feel and the aura of the place is what people loved. People clamoring early on to get a seat.
It's the feel. It's the music.
The smell.
It's
Who doesn't
the
love the smell of
smell.
coffee?
It's the couches.
You don't even have to like coffee to love the smell of coffee.
No, and I love going into Starbucks.
Me too.
When we were in Florida a couple weeks ago with you, Andrew.
Your hotel was, you had one downstairs.
Yeah, we were downstairs, and then when I was waiting for my wife while she was doing her test to become a teacher, I sat in the Starbucks for 2 hours. Why? Because I never felt
in the third place, pal.
I didn't feel like I was irritating anybody. Nobody was like, "Are you going to buy any more stuff?"
Exactly.
But it was a cool place to just chill for a couple hours and do some work, right?
That's right.
That's the experience, right? They took coffee, which first off has a massive multiple. That's why coffee places are successful. Cost them like 5 cents to make coffee, right?
That's great.
You charge $3 for it. You're winning.
You wish it was 3.
Right? Yeah, you're winning.
It used to be 3. Now it's like 6.
Right. So in your industry, whatever it is, it's insurance, it's coaching, it's finance, it's marketing, it's selling shavers, whatever it is. How can you create the third place ideal?
That's right.
Right? Like what we've done with Pipeline Pro is at first what we said is we're just going to sell the customer management system, right? We're going to give people the best, ecosystem for managing their leads and their sales and their follow-up, right? And then we talked to our customers and we said, what else would you like? And they said, well, we don't like setting everything up. We're technically challenged. Okay, let's put together a product to just set it up for you. And a whole bunch of people bought it, right? And then they said, we would like to learn about Facebook ads. No problem, right? We teach inside of it. We have a Facebook course inside of it, right? I would like to have somebody build me a funnel, right? Okay. We built a division where we can build funnels. We're like, we want our customers to be like, look, when it comes to anything inside of this digital marketing space, we got you. All you have to do is reach out. We got you, right? So that they don't have to go to here and there and everywhere all over the planet. We can serve them at the highest level with whatever they need. But that comes from actually talking to them, asking them, listening to them, right? All of that stuff.
Yeah, and listen, you look at the Pipeline Pro situation, I'm thinking about it as you're talking about it, right? It's when we get a new customer, we call them, we invite them to trainings, we give them complimentary one-on-one fast start sessions, we have a private Facebook group, we invite them to live trainings, we invite them into fast start trainings. We've engineered all the steps to make someone go, wow, I'm in the right place. I don't really need to go anywhere else because all my needs are served here in this all-in-one platform, but the people care and they take care of us. Once in a blue moon, Aaron, you get a guy who's got to be just so down and out, broken, busted, and upset with themselves that will go, I give me a refund because I can't believe they communicate with me this much. And I'm like, oh my God. Somebody's internally broken when when someone's reaching out to help you and make sure you're okay and you somehow spin it into you're interrupting me. Right? It's like, I laugh, but now I'm like, okay, now I know we're taking good care of our people because, that's somebody who would complain about what time the sun rises, right?
Yeah, I mean, with all great things, there's going to be some people that have a problem with it, and I think that you make a good point there because
I would listen. Let me before you say that, I would way rather every day of the week and twice on Sunday over communicate than under communicate because very few businesses over communicate. Most under communicate, and then people are more pissed off.
Yeah, in our agency side, Andrew, the number one complaint that we got up to, the number one complaint we always get when new clients come to us, they say that I've worked with different companies in the past and the communication is horrible. Yeah, right. So what we've done,
it's a black eye.
Yeah. So we've just over communicated.
That's right.
Right. And when somebody says to us, like, like you said, like, guys, this is too many updates, too many whatever. Perfect. That's perfect. When you tell me it's too many, perfect. Right. Because I'll never get that complaint again.
Yep.
Of lack of communication. Right.
That's right. So
you make a great point there that as you're putting these processes in place, there are people, that will shoot you a nasty negative email or a nasty negative
Don't
text.
be derailed.
Stay
true to taking care of the customer. Don't be derailed by midget miniature thinking. Right? What did Jim Rohn used to always say? Too many people major in minor things. That's one of them.
Yeah, I agree. Don't let it's the same thing when we talk about putting content out to continue to engage and educate and bond with your audience.
Yep.
If you're really consistent at putting content out, there will be people that will say some nasty things, from you post too much to you're ugly. I mean, one of our clients gets called ugly on a daily basis. I feel so bad for him, but he makes millions of dollars a month, so the trade-off is worth it, right? He didn't major in minor things and allow, some undereducated people derail his progress.
Listen, at the end of the day, I always say to my team, if they get upset by it, it says more about them than it does about us.
Yeah.
So when somebody rants about being well taken care of, says way more about their broken life than it does about the service you're giving. And that's something you really want to remember on the back end. But in closing here, what we want to do is pull this around, right? So 3 pieces here, right? Got to have a winning ad, but that ad will be dictated by what you're offering.
Correct.
Whether it's a service, a webinar, a free report, a demo, a video sales letter, an overview, a test drive, right? Whatever. Information education does best, but it's not the rule. It's our rule for the most part, but it's not the only rule. And then the third piece we just wrapped up with is how do you now take care of that new lead? It's really a lead/prospect. How do you take someone from suspect to prospect to customer? That's obviously having an organizational system on the back end and being able to have that come full circle, right? It's really simple, though. 3 parts.
I would add one more piece. Prospect, suspect, prospect, customer, fan.
Yeah, I like that. Suspect, prospect, customer, fan. Or what we say, customer for life, right?
Right.
Awesome.
Fan.
Awesome.
Cool. Well, let's wrap it up.
Let's leave it there. Let's leave it there. We're nearing the top of our ending time here. Hope you enjoyed this one. It was a little heavy in the beginning, so if you need to go back and watch it, it's worth doing. Aaron's more on the tech side of things, and that was a really important update in the beginning. If you jumped around here, what's going on with the Apple iOS changes as it affects your tracking in your conversion metrics when it comes to Facebook advertising, it's make or break information because this has been a monster change and a huge uprooting of information that's gone on in the last 30 days. So thanks for pointing that out, Aaron, in the beginning. We started with tech and we took it home with these 3 pieces here. We'll be back same time next week. SalesVelocityTV.com is where all of our past episodes are. If you watch us live, we're here live every Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern in the Sales Velocity TV public Facebook group. That's Aaron. This is Andrew. This one's a wrap. We'll see you next time.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. Sales Velocity TV is powered by Pipeline Pro, the ultimate all-in-one sales pipeline management and marketing automation platform that makes all others obsolete. And we can prove it. Take a tour at gopipelinePro.com. See you on the next episode.